On today's very anticipated episode of Locked On Cubs, we discuss the Cubs core members that they traded. What types of years did they have? How do we feel about those trades today? And then we get into best and worst of the week. It's an important and fun episode, so come on and join us.
Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cubs alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Pleased to be with you for a Friday episode. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Where we're starting this episode and is going to last through the duration of today's program is with the former core members of the Chicago National League Ball Club. Sam has a lot to say, and this is going to be quite a rundown of a show, and we're excited to jump in, Sam.
So before we get into this very serious topic, why is it serious, Matt? Well, it's because a lot of people, rightfully so, are very sensitive about these guys, right? 2016 world champions. Some people want to defend them. Some people like me are ready to respect what they did, but move on from them. And then there's some clash, right? But before I get into that, I just want to say I saw during the intro, and I'm a little bit concerned by it. I don't like how much caffeine you take in on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot this school year for sure.
No, learn to rely without caffeine.
What's odd is it's never in the morning. I think I'm the only educator in the country that doesn't have coffee in the morning, but has coffee or Mountain Dew or Diet Coke in the PM.
And you guys could catch Matt every night at 7 Central over. No, I'm just kidding. All right. That was really exciting. All right. So the first thing I want to do before we get into dissecting Schwarber, Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant is oh, wow. And you're wearing the Bryant Rizzo shirt. Somebody actually accurately made a comment yesterday that we should flip our camera so they could read that stuff because it's backwards. But when we flip it, it's that right. Exactly. It's hard.
Don't. So yeah, I was going to respond to that person. When you flip the cameras, just trust us. We don't look like ourselves.
No, I look like I belong in some sort of
a different planet.
Morgatory. Okay. All right. Before we get into dissecting those guys, Matt, let's just talk about each trade and how you feel about it right now. So the first thing, I know that I want to start a little negative. Okay. Mm-hmm. I know that Darvish is not a core member.
Correct.
But let's start with that trade before the 2021 season.
I remember it was like right before New Year's 2020.
Headlined by Owen Casey, who is one of the Cubs' top 10 prospects. Everybody else is a little bit lagging, and Darvish is kind of the guy that the Cubs are looking to get next year. However, they were able to get Owen Casey back, and then they signed Stroman, and Darvish is better than Stroman, but that's one deal that doesn't look great right now, but Darvish is turning 37 soon, Matt. Just anything quickly on that?
Honestly, Sam, I didn't realize he was that old.
Me neither.
And if he regresses and Stroman stays steady or even improves a little bit, plus you have Owen Casey who's crushing it in the fall league. You have a couple of these other young guys. That could be a trade that's a winner of a deal. And that's actually a good place to start because that Darvish trade signaled that the Cubs were going to move on from the core, which is what they ended up doing.
And signaled that they had a little bit of a financial issue going on at the time.
At the time, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a great deal at this point, but we'll have to see. I mean, Casey and Stroman are the key, so we'll see.
Darvish had a great year.
Yeah, it just to me, guys that you could throw game 1, 4, and 7 of a championship series or World Series and feel good each time out, or like there's like 7 or 8 of them in the league and he's one of them.
That'd be a hard trade to win for sure.
Yeah, it's a hard trade to win. And then the Schwarber thing was just a disaster. And we haven't got into his year yet, but just non-tendering him to save some money. I guess they had to pick one of them. He wasn't the guy to pick. He is by far the most successful core member as we speak, one of the premier power hitters in the game. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Just you agree with that, I'm assuming.
They got no value for him. I mean, I didn't even know what non-tender meant until they did that Schwarber move.
Yeah, no, that
was stupid.
Inexcusable. Okay. So those are the two ones I don't love. Baez for PCA has a chance to possibly be one of the 5 or 6 best deals the team's ever made. Let me make the quick case for you. Yes, I understand. I never was a Javi guy. I thought that in 2018, when he finished second to Christian Yelich in the MVP voting, I told you at the time, trade him. I felt that his approach at the plate was unsustainable. He's so heavily reliant on physical things, and when those start to crumble a little bit, he's going to have years like he had this year with Detroit. He also looks like he's a little bit on the heavy side. I just think that I don't think Javier Baez deserved the money that he got. I think he's too undisciplined at the plate. And for the Cubs to get their now number 1 prospect for him. And remember, guys, remember this, Matt. It's not just Baez for PCA. It's deciding not to extend Baez, trading him for PCA, and now getting Correa or Turner, right? That's kind of like the deal. Like, for example, when the Cubs traded Starlin Castro to the Yankees for Adam Warren, I was devastated. But then I realized it really wasn't Castro for Adam Warren. It was Castro for Adam Warren and Ben Zobrist.
Yeah.
Right? And then it made me feel a lot better. So sometimes trades are a little bit indirect. I just think that's been a home run so far. Obviously, it's early days.
The trade earns a high grade, even prior to the season, you had heard chatter about PCA, and it's only further been evidenced as he's played so well.
Skyrocketed would be the word.
And it was a 1-for-1. It actually was technically at the time Trevor Williams was in the deal, but
it's a 1-for-1, huh?
It was, and
Trevor Williams could kick right.
It's a grading trade, Sam.
We don't have to, but yeah, it's an A.
It is.
We don't have to grade every one, but it's an A for sure.
And this guy plays defense.
And the thing is, I know people at home are saying, well, how can you say it's an A? PCA hasn't played a game yet. Because right now you could trade PCA for all-stars.
Well, he's gonna begin 2023 in Double-A. I mean, he's getting close.
But that's not even the point. The point is he's already a tremendous asset to your organization.
Huge.
If the Cubs wanted to trade for Shohei Ohtani and they put PCA in the deal, that's going to really help, right?
Yes.
Okay. The big move with Rizzo, there was other parts of the trade, but the big, very similar, Alcantara is the guy that really headlined the Rizzo deal.
He did.
We'll get into Rizzo's 2022 here in a little bit.
Yeah.
It's starting to increase a little bit. I was fine with this deal. I think the Cubs offered Anthony Rizzo, I believe, what was it, 5 years, $70 million? Was that the extension that they offered?
It was 70 or 75, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I believe this year he's making 16 over 1 year.
Correct.
I love Anthony Rizzo. I respect Anthony Rizzo. He is a very important member of this city, and he's a terrific guy. I don't know really what the Cubs could have done differently there. Anthony Rizzo has severe back problems. I mean, I think severe is the right word. I mean, he misses time every year. He's not getting any younger. He's fantastic defensively. I think it was probably the right move, and I really like the guy they got for him, or the main guy they got for him. He always could come back. I doubt that he does. I like Mervis. I support that move. I think it was the right move at the time, and nothing really has changed in 2022 outside of Alcantara, who, of course, the great Lindsey Crosby said he thinks is the best prospect in the system.
Trading Rizzo was perhaps the clearest move at the time. Well, maybe Bryant was up there, but Baez was a little bit surprised, especially on trade deadline day. There wasn't as much chatter.
Right.
And
because Baez had the most momentum towards an extension, it felt like.
Right. And we'll get into Rizzo's season later, like you said, but Alcantara is highly regarded. He's a young position player that plays really well, and athleticism is a huge asset in this game. Are you watching the playoffs? Because I see a lot of good athletic guys.
And Anthony Rizzo's skill set is very replaceable. I mean, he plays first base.
He's the oldest one.
Yeah, and we'll get into his season, so I don't want to spoil too much of it. And then last, but not least, I mean, of the main guys, right? Kris Bryant to the Giants, Canario, Killian. This was a home run. At the time, I didn't think they got enough for him. I was wrong.
Crazy good deal.
Bryant was never going to re-sign here for the money that he wanted.
No.
The Cubs know his injury history. They know his health issues. It never made sense. Anybody that had a problem with this deal, like of trading Kris Bryant, I kind of get Rizzo. I get Rizzo. I kind of get Baez if you're a Baez guy. Bryant's the best one of the three. At least he was for the Cubs. And this one was just obvious, right? I mean, do we need any explanation?
Bryant's the best one of the three. And there was even that underlying service time issue.
Right.
That I just think you had Boris in his ear and his team, and he wasn't going to come back.
And these guys, Matt, and we'll get into it after the break, is like, dissecting their season, but like Bryant, Rookie of the Year MVP, Rizzo had amazing years. And then after 2017, outside of Baez's 2018, it's just
choppier.
It was just really choppy. How could you pay these guys and really feel good about their production over the next 5-6 years, especially Bryant?
Do you believe that Jed offered Baez, Bryant, Rizzo extensions?
Baez, we know for sure, because I think Baez almost confirmed. He's like, we were at the 1 yard line before the pandemic. So that to me means there was an offer, and then there was a counter offer, and they were there. We know Rizzo did. Rizzo just thought it was a slap in the face. And I'm pretty sure there was a $200 million report for Bryant that he rejected. So
I believe Jed. I really do.
I believe him, and I think it's a blessing for the Cubs that none of them took him.
Yeah. We're going to get into each of these player seasons, including Kyle Schwarber on the other side. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. NBA began this week. College basketball's around the corner. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. What's the line Bears-Patriots Monday night? Do we know?
Got to be 7.5-ish.
The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
And I'd like to give a quick shout out to Illinois alum Io DeSumo, who looked like a former Chicago high schooler yesterday against the Miami Heat. Indiana Hoosier Isaiah Thomas. Man, did Io look sharp yesterday. Go Illini.
And not to be to throw some negative water, because Io played well and the Bulls won their opener. But what's the over-under on games played for Zach LaVine? How many total games? 82 in the season?
Yeah.
I'm going to put that at 64.5.
Yeah, and I'd be taking the under. Okay, so let's go to evaluating these seasons, Mateo.
Please. What player would you like to start with?
I'll start with Schwarber, because that's the one where Schwarber's the only guy that I look at and say, man, next year we could really use that.
Do you think he's the one that got away?
I think that's cliche, and I think that's no, because I do think there's a little bit. Oh, excuse me, I just hit the computer. I do think there's a little bit of a case, Matt, where he might have not found this in Chicago. He might have 100%. Needed it. He might have needed a change just as much as the Cubs thought they needed a change. It's just reprehensible to not get anything back for a guy that is the premier power hitter in the National League.
For each of these guys, I'm going to start with the amount of money they made and the games played.
And then let's talk. And then I think we should grade each of their 2022s. Kyle
Schwarber, 19 M's this year, and he played the most games out of the group, 155.
Yep.
Slash line of 218, 323, 504. But here's the kicker: 48 home runs and 94 runs batted in. He's just a true old school power guy.
Yeah, I would give him like a B+. I think that you can't give a guy an A that hits 218.
Right.
But I give Schwarber like a B+. What would you give him?
Yeah, B+, maybe A-.
Yeah, 48's a big number. It just is.
It's huge.
And he's a great clubhouse guy, and he brings a winning culture to the team, so that helps too. All right, let's go with Javier Baez. To me, before you read the numbers, this deal made no sense when it happened. For Javi, I get it. Just get the most money possible.
Well, two of the players went to extremely odd teams.
Yeah, I can't imagine why Detroit would want this. I thought Baez, read the numbers, then I'll go. Sorry, I'm sorry.
So he made $20 million this year, 144 games, slash line of 238, 278, 393.
And that's after a very strong finish.
17 home runs, 67 runs batted in. Then I have two other stats for him. 147 strikeouts to 26 walks and 26 errors, which led all shortstops.
Well, that's his defense regressed this year mightily. To me, it's got to be about a D minus for Javi. I mean, when
he had an awful year, I'm going to give him an F.
Yeah, the only reason I don't give him an F is because he showed a little bit at the end.
He was terrible this year.
Yeah, no, he was. And I'm not surprised. I said it kind of when he signed. I thought he wasn't going to be good, and I think his Javier Baez's skill set is very unique, and he is very reliant on pitchers making mistakes, which you can't rely on, and he's very reliant on his athleticism and speed. And you put up on a couple pounds here and there, you get a little bit older.
It's not going to get better with age.
It's not going to get better with age. And in Javi's defense, he went to a ballpark that's very difficult to hit.
True. Yeah.
Very difficult. 17 homers there is probably 24 at Wrigley. So, I don't see it getting any better. That's a bad situation. I could see Detroit trying to move from that contract quickly.
Wow. Riz or KB?
Let's go with Rizzo, because this is a hard one to judge.
$16 million, 130 games.
I said 19, so 16.
He could opt out of his deal.
Yeah, he's a free agent.
2023.
Which you will.
Okay. I didn't realize that was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, he will.
Tied a career high with 32 home runs. His OPS of 817 was his lowest since 2013. Still good defensively. A great clubhouse guy. Actually managed a game late in the year. And, this is the player that if there's one where you have a reunion with, either as a player or something post-playing career, I think this is the one.
Yeah.
I would give him this year a B.
So I'm going to go lower, but I'm going to go.
He's also on a good team.
I'm going to go lower, but I'm going to go pending. So I'm going C, pending, because a lot of his value is in the postseason, and he's been much better in the postseason than he was at Yankee Stadium. I think those 32 homers are very deceiving. He's basically playing in a little league right field park, and I believe I saw a stat that he led the league in home runs that wouldn't have been home runs anywhere else but Yankee Stadium.
It's wild.
So I really don't think offensively he grades out that well or makes sense for many other teams. I think the Yankees are a perfect fit for him. You have Judge there, you have Stanton there. It's a short porch and right, but to see Anthony Rizzo in the 230s, something's not right there. But I'll give him a C, and I'll say pending, because that could turn into a B or an A if he continues to stay hot and leads the Yankees to a championship. Because he has been their best hitter so far in October, and that matters a lot.
I really hope they compete with the series.
But overall, I don't think he had a good enough year where I'm really kicking myself for the Cubs not extending him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and he's not a realistic option to get this winter because he's the same handedness as Mervis.
Right, and he's not as good of a hitter as Abreu. He's a better fielder, but again, that to me, when I look at his year with those back issues and then how many cheap homers he got, and I see 230 something, I don't like where that's trending.
Kris Bryant, $18 million this year, but it goes to 28 next year and beyond.
Yeah. The numbers he's making this year are very deceiving in all these contracts.
42 games he played, which is exactly 25% of the season. When he did play, 306, 376, 475. So when he played, he was solid.
Yeah, it's an F.
Low power. 5 home runs in the 42 games, and played exclusively left field and DH.
Yeah, it's an
which
F.
was interesting.
It's an F for Bryant. His availability is such a problem. And I defended Kris Bryant for a long time, especially when he kind of had that renaissance in the first half of 2019. And I've come to the conclusion with Kris Bryant, and I say this, and I don't mean anything as a personal attack, but Kris Bryant cannot play when when the circumstances are not perfect for him physically and mentally. And I don't think it's just a simple thing. Oh, he just has to stay healthy. There's certain things that happen to Kris Bryant, bumps and bruises along the line that maybe other players can play through that he cannot. And whenever something is slightly off with him, he struggles. And I think Colorado knew that, and that's why they just ended up shutting it down, because he tried to play with the plantar fasciitis this year for about a week, and they're like, this just isn't going to work. And his history of just not being able to stay healthy has really derailed what started out looking like one of the great careers, not only in Cubs history, but the history of the city. Yeah. A rookie of the year in 2015. And I always tell you this, Matt, there's always a certain type of coolness or verification, or just a fun thing when somebody has hype and they deliver, right? Cinderella stories are awesome. Guys that you don't expect much are awesome. But to me, I love when a guy's supposed to be great and then he is. I think that almost is even cooler.
Of course.
And Kris Bryant was that in 15, 16, and 17. And for him to just drop off the face of the earth with the shoulder in 2018, the knee in 19, then basically forgets how to play baseball in 20. And then in the first half of 21, he's good, and then kind of just becomes this fairly good contributor. It's Derrick Rose-ish in the way that it's just like such a fall from grace. I mean, Rose's makes more sense because it's a catastrophic knee situation and it's basketball.
Right.
But it's sad. It's sad for Bryant. I'm glad the Cubs didn't extend him and whatnot, but it's, to me, out of all the guys, his fall off's the one where you're just like, man, what happened? I mean,
yes,
it's just like, wow. Like Baez, I saw coming. Bryant in 2022 being, would you say, including availability, he's even one of the 50 best guys in the league?
No.
Yeah, no, it's sad.
Yeah, it is, and I hope he gets on the field next year.
Sure.
Because he could be a really unique player at Coors Field or anywhere.
Right. No, he'll put up numbers there. I just don't know what do they mean.
But again, an odd location, similar to Javi.
Very odd. Very odd.
Anything else with the core? This was a great review.
Yeah, I just think my conclusion is stop rubbing it in people's faces when Rizzo hits a homer in the playoffs and whatever. My whole point of this episode was to let you know, hey, here's what these guys did. Some good, a lot not great, some whatever. For the most part, outside of Schwarber, everything the Cubs did made sense. And you always work a little bit ahead in baseball. So the really good moves that you make a year ago, you don't start reaping the benefit for those on the major league level for a while, right? It's not a common thing. Continue to be patient, and you're going to start to be like, they actually made a lot of sense with what they did. So that's kind of my whole thing.
Well, especially outside of Schwarber, just the main trio that we always discuss with Bryant, Baez, and Rizzo.
Yeah.
I think the Cubs should be encouraged and affirmed that it was time. And that the jury is not out. Like, the evidence is there, and it was the right thing to do.
Not only is the jury not out, but the jury is out for me, as I was asked to do jury duty in 2 weeks. So that could mess with our schedule.
Wow, that really could.
Yeah.
Well, might have to fly solo a couple eps.
Yeah, no, and you know me, I take that seriously.
Yeah, you get that in the mail. You're gonna check the schedule and show up for that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm an American.
Did you get your Locked On shirt as well?
Yeah, I didn't appreciate that it was Packer colors.
I see.
Was yours Packer colors?
Yeah, I believe it's the same shirt.
Oh, okay.
We wrap up with best and worst of the week coming up next. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. Thanks for joining us for a fun Friday show. They always are. Thanks wherever you may be listening as we go into the weekend here. My best of the week, Sam, is, both of these are just some news from within the last couple of hours, as a matter of fact. Ian Happ nominated for a Gold Glove.
Wow.
And that's my best. And my worst is that Nico Horner was not.
Not enough games, Matthew.
The second point of my worst of the week is Christian Yelich
Oh, no.
is one of the three, including Happ and then David Peralta, nominated for a left field Gold Glove. People, Christian Yelich is one of the worst outfielders in the history of baseball.
Okay, let's not, you know what I mean?
First of all, his arm it's a high school level arm.
Nah, Yelich shouldn't be. The only thing
It's awful.
The only thing Yelich should be nominated for is cheating.
Wow.
So my best of the week is absolutely nothing because it's not been good.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I've tried to think of one before the show. I got nothing. See if I can get a couple hits tonight in softball. My worst of the week has nothing to do with baseball, and that's going to be the food industry.
Oh no.
Look, I work in a service industry. I get it. Okay. It is hard times post-COVID finding people, but just a little more attention to detail. The last 4 times I went out to eat this week and on the weekend, something's come back wrong. Something as basic as I ordered a chicken sandwich and got back a salad. Okay. And obviously it's on me. I got to check the box before I go. But come on, you know what I mean? Easy hot peppers on a sandwich doesn't mean I want to take a bite and have to run to the refrigerator for a water bottle. Just a little attention to detail. Ordered a little brunch last Sunday. Was really excited. Did a little Uber Eats situation. And I ordered this like steak skillet. And I got back eggs with no meat.
Yikes.
Just little things like that are,
I'd
like to eat what I asked for.
Sure. It's fair expectation.
Food industry, be a little bit better, please, and thank you.
Be sure to hit subscribe for Locked On Cubs on YouTube and smash the like button on all your favorite Locked On Cubs content, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and drop us a note, which we'll read beginning of next week, 312-834-4634. Thanks for making Locked On Cubs your first listen every day. Now make your second. The Locked On MLB podcast. Paul Francis Sullivan, call him Sully, brings humor, passion, unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Man, we touched them all right there. For Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.